the chamber this week, an art heist that turned Paris upside down, a Japanese RPG where worlds collide, and we show you how to turn the Simple World PDF into your own world. Where we're recording, it's wicked cold, but the heat we're bringing to this week's episode is red hot. Join us for knowledge, fun, and so much more. All this and more on Fandom Roulette. Hey everyone, welcome to Fandom Roulette. This is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
So you guys, I don't know where you guys are listening to this here podcast, but right now, in our little neck of the woods, which is to say the Midwest, oh boy is it cold.
Yup. Record lows.
We're experiencing a polar vortex. Apparently it's the coldest it's been since 1994 when we were babies.
Yeah, it's pretty cold out. I've been trying to stay completely in this one apartment for days and a little stir crazy, but I think I'll be okay.
Ooh, they'll bring a fun energy to the podcast.
I'm freaking out. I love it.
I'm currently head to toe in buffalo plaid.
Nice.
Very comfortable. I'm very cozy right now.
Very cool.
Okay.
I'm not as cozy.
Welcome to Fan Roulette, a podcast where we talk about a myriad of nerdy things, including history, video games, tabletop role-playing games, and whatever other nerdy stuff we want to talk about. So, hey, Cody, what nerdy stuff have you been up to this week, my friend?
Oh boy, this is the big week. A week I've been waiting for 13 years.
The big week. What's up with this week?
Yeah, this week is Kingdom Hearts 3 release.
Oh, snap!
Yeah, it just came out yesterday, and
that's awesome.
I will be saving my stuff about it probably for a little bit of this week, a little bit of next week. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing some DM prep for this upcoming week. Because we have our campaign that we just started. So that'll be fun. Yeah, what nerdy stuff have you been up to?
Ooh, a couple of things.
Ooh, do tell.
Yeah, actually, over the weekend, I went down to visit some friends, and we happened to play Apocalypse World. So I was playing with the Apocalypse system over the weekend, and I had a lot of fun.
Nice.
It's a fun system. I'm not gonna lie. I played it before, but it had been a really long time, so I forgot kind of like what it was like to be in the throes of it. And one of the things I really liked was it was a lot of people's first times playing like role-playing games, so they all picked up on it really quick and easy. And then I guess I intimidated at least one of them because I came in with like a character voice, like just like out of the bag, and he was like, "Have you done this before?" And my friend was like, "Yeah, we've been playing since like college, so you don't have to worry about Joe. He's a little bit more experienced." So
I have 3 RPG voices in the bag, I think. Yeah, I've got like my awful like Russian area accent.
Sure. The Grigori.
Yeah, the famous Grigori. I've got a nice Western draw that I can bring out whenever I need.
The McCree /
It's true.
Clint Eastwood.
And then
Deckard Cain.
Oh yes, I can always do a good old fashioned Deckard Cain who's like 99 and like probably dying tomorrow.
Sure, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, you know.
This one was I don't know how much people like know about the Apocalypse system, but my character was the Chopper, which meant that I ran a gang of motorcycle mooks. And my name was Dirt Bike Benny.
Dirt Bike Benny. Love it.
And then my gang was called the Brooklyn Boys.
Oh, the Brooklyn Boys.
Yeah, so like they were the Brooklyn Boys. Like they liked to ride on motorcycles, and so I was basically just doing Yu-Gi-Oh's best
you were doing Joey Wheeler impressions all night.
Joey Wheeler. And like
it was so much fun.
all
of the other bikers named like Yu-Gi-Oh cards? Like
no,
one guy was named Blue Eyes White Dragon.
No, so I only had 3 ready to go, which was I stole the names from this Marvel villain team called the Enforcers, which was Ox, Fancy Dan in Montana. And then I didn't want to come up with like 12 other names, so they were just the Background Boys. One of them was named Little Jerry, who was mad that he had to always hang out with Big Jerry. But
oh, Little Jerry and Big Jerry?
yeah, they were good boys.
Man, I love your off the cuff biker gang.
I know, right? It was a lot of fun. It was the one class I had really wanted to play had been taken, but it was cool because I ended up having a lot of fun with having my own little mobile gang of boys.
Nice.
Then the other one was I watched this movie called Logan Lucky, which is a fun little heist movie. If you like Steven Soderbergh heist movies, he's the same guy who did like Ocean's 11, 12, and 13. This one was about a group of rednecks stealing from a NASCAR race. So it was a solid flick. I would check it out.
Nice. I'd heard about it, but it kind of like the commercials came on for it, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared from my radar.
Yeah, right. Like
much like marketing does.
Much like what?
Much like most marketing. Like they fucking bombard you to the point where it's just like, all right, I get it. This is gonna be good. And then as soon as they stop, I'm like, wait, what was that thing again? And I'm like,
what was that movie? So yeah, that was my kind of week leading up to this, and I'm excited to play D&D this weekend. But anyway, let's jump into the old show there, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So this week I'm talking about. So this season we've been talking about heists.
Yes.
And this episode is actually a relatively simple heist, all things considered, but everything surrounding it is actually pretty dang interesting. All right. So I'm going to set the scene. All right.
Yes, do it.
It's Sunday, August 20th, 1911. Okay. We're sitting in Gay Paris. So like put in like an accordion in the background, like do 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 do.
Sure.
We're sitting at cafes, we're eating croissants, and we're enjoying
delicious.
And we're sipping on like lattes and things like that. And don't you know it, Cody, where's one of the main places you go to when you go to Paris? Why, that's right, it's the Louvre. Their famous art museum.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the Louvre actually, it's the home of many famous masterworks, one of which being the Mona Lisa.
I know that one.
Yeah, which honestly, according to some stuff I've read, it's possible it might not have been as famous as it is today if not for this event that I'm going to be talking about. This event kind of sprung this painting into like a new era of like national importance and stuff. So it's 1911. Security in the museum was lax, and so basically the gentleman who stole the painting, who we'll talk about in a little bit, stowed away in a storage closet. And so he was able to basically hide there all night, and in the morning, around 7:15, he emerged clad in a white apron, which was the same garment that was worn by museum employees. So he checked to see if the coast was clear, walked up to the Mona Lisa, picked it off of the wall, and then carried it to a service stairwell where he removed the canvas from its protective glass frame. Okay. Now here's the thing.
Dun, 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 dun.
His biggest rival in getting this out was a doorway.
Gasp.
So he found a doorway. He locked a doorway. He found a locked doorway, rather. And so he was like fumbling and like trying to take apart the doorknob to get out. And he was having a really hard time when the Louvre's, one of the plumbers of the Louvre appeared and basically just was like, oh, it's a trapped coworker. I'll help this guy out. And basically helped him open the door. And then the man just walked out the door with the Mona Lisa, like, basically tucked into his pocket, basically, or tucked in his apron. So, this is where things get kind of crazy. It took them at least 2 full days to realize that the painting had been stolen.
Oh, man. Did he do it? Did they have, like, the weekends off and, like, they did it on a Friday night and they were just like, All right, Monday mornings, am I right? Oh no.
They actually kind of did it on a Monday morning, but the thing was they would just kind of like, so it would be like Wednesday, I think, before they realized that it was stolen.
Damn.
Because mainly one of the main things was that it was just normal museum practice to periodically like take down paintings for like conservation or photography, and they wouldn't put up anything like removed on such and such a date for, cleaning, which is actually common museum practice now because of this event, where you actually have to put up where the painting is, why it was removed, when it was removed, and like initials of the people who moved it. And so basically visiting artists asked the security guard where the Mona Lisa was, and then the museum called the police. He couldn't find it. The museum called the police, and they eventually found the glass in the stairwell. So no one was sure who stole it, and there was a public outcry in France because they were this person stealing this famous painting. So actually the police would start to stop pedestrians, cars, and passengers at checkpoints where they circulated posters of the Mona Lisa and started searching people's luggage and things like that. And then a week later, when the Louvre finally opened, thousands of people literally started to come to just stare at the blank wall where the Mona Lisa was, because they couldn't believe that it was stolen from this museum. So there were some theories. The one theory was a guy named Guillaume Apollinaire, who is a poet who once called for the Louvre to be burned down. He was arrested in 1911 because the police linked him to an earlier theft of two ancient statues, which were stolen by a secretary, and basically he was like, "No, I didn't steal them. They were bought by Picasso, my friend Picasso, to be a subject in my painting." Another theory was that it was stolen to go into American banking magnate J.P. Morgan's private art collection, and so others had theorized that it was stolen by Germans to disgrace the French by stealing one of their beautiful pieces of art. What it ended up being was that it was stolen by an Italian immigrant, and it had never even left the city of Paris. It was stolen by a gentleman named Vincenzo Perughi, who was actually a former Louvre employee who had actually built the frame that the Mona Lisa was displayed in. So basically, he stashed it in his home with a false bottom, and afterwards he was caught. He kept it hid for 2 full years, basically waiting for the heat to fall down, to die down. But once he was, he had sent a letter to a Florentine art dealer to try to get the Mona Lisa back to Italy, but was eventually captured. And he was able to present it in the object in red silk, and was arrested. Now he claims that the main reason he had stolen it was because it was national pride, and he wanted the Mona Lisa to go back home to Italy. But he was eventually charged for theft and put on trial in Italy, and was thrown into prison for quite some time. So he died in 1947. He was able to get appeal 7 months before he was going to be released. And like I said, many people figured that the Mona Lisa has become more famous just based on the fact that it had been stolen for such a long period of time. Like I said, thousands of people would literally just come to the Louvre just to see the blank space on the wall where it was located. Now, as far as heists go, this is a relatively simple one. It was one dude and one accidental accomplice who I don't know if they even discovered who that guy was. But there was a certain level of planning. Apparently, he had learned the layout of the museum and the museum floor before he struck. He was a former employee who figured out the best way to approach it was. And yeah, he was able to steal this beautiful piece of art. So, Cody, do you have any questions for me, mon frere?
I have a personal question.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you think that accidental worker or accidental accomplice, excuse me,
Yeah.
do you count him as being part of the crew, or do you think this was a solo kind of cat burglary style incident?
I feel it feels to me like it was a solo thing. And there are two things that lead me to believe that, and it would lead me to argue that it was a solo affair.
Sure.
Mainly the fact that it was the only thing he stole, and he sat on it for 2 years.
Okay.
So
okay.
clearly
I
there
mean,
was
I
no
agree.
one. Yeah,
Just
clearly there was no one like looking for a cut, or like even like who knows how heists work in real life. I mean, I've certainly never been a part of one. But like there's always that part in like the heist movie where it's like even if part of the plan is to like lie low for like a year and a half or whatever, like there's always one guy who gets antsy and demands his cut early because it's like he can't handle it anymore. I can't handle it anymore.
It's true. I would say that due to my experience with the game Payday the Heist, 1
Okay.
and 2, that I'm fairly knowledgeable in modern day heists.
Okay, good.
And, yeah, and rule number 1, you always got to have an inside man. So in this case, Heister was the inside man. Flawless victory.
For sure.
Also, it takes like 1,000,000 bullets to gun down anybody in that game, so
Yeah.
I
mean, that just makes sense.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, Cody.
Yeah.
I guess the question of one of my questions this week is if you were to steal a famous piece of art, what would you steal?
Oh. Gosh. Well, with the way things go nowadays, I would probably take one if for some reason I decided one day that I just needed to really take something. I probably wouldn't do it for the money.
Okay.
I would do it for the artwork. So I'd probably pick something that I liked. Just
Okay.
because I don't know how to sell a stolen painting, and I would probably either get A, killed at the deal, or B, ripped off completely. So
fair enough.
I guess in this hypothetical scenario, FBI, this is purely a hypothetical scenario.
This is purely hypothetical.
I would probably take something that I enjoy, but
all right.
I do enjoy a lot of art, so I don't know if I could pick one right off the dome.
Yeah, fair enough.
What about you?
I mean, I'd probably go with something I liked as well, which means that it would probably be something from the Impressionist or Post-Impressionist period. And yeah, I would probably steal it. Here's a detail I forgot real quick. If you'll allow me. So
I will allow it.
He like I said, he lived with it in his apartment for like 2 full years, and apparently he said that the half smile started to taunt him, and that he did eventually fall in love with the painting. So,
it's like
that episode of Hey Arnold where Phoebe steals a poem and then wins the Emily Dickinson Poetry Prize, and then the statue starts calling her a cheater and a liar and told her that she stole the poem, and then she eventually fesses up to it, and then they take away the statue, but her conscience is clear.
Well, I was trying to find the term for it, and it was Stockholm Syndrome, but in a weird reverse.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
But I actually really liked yours because now I'm just having like flashes of that episode.
Mm-hmm. It was a good one. What?
I mean, let's be honest. That whole show was good.
Oh, that show was so ahead of its time, and it's like,
right,
in so many ways. It's one of the best. Remember the Christmas episode? Where
where it didn't snow, and then they like froze an entire street to like ice skate.
That was a good one. I was talking about the one where you find out that Mr. Wynn got separated from his daughter when they were fleeing the capital of Vietnam. I was like, shit, that was a kid show, man.
Right, yeah,
That show was ahead of its time.
Yeah, that got very deep very quickly.
Yeah. So anyways, that's history.
And a little bit of Hey Arnold.
And a little bit of Hey Arnold at the end. 'Cause you know what? You deserve it.
Yeah.
God. Oh, man, one of the streaming services I have will sometimes play old Hey Arnold episodes. That show holds up, man. It really does.
You know, I'd love to check it out again, because I do remember it being, like, one of the highlights.
Yeah. And it struck a nice balance between humor and good, like, life lessons.
Yeah.
So, good job, Hey Arnold.
Good job, right. Hey Arnold.
Oh, man. Would you look who it is?
Who's in the office today?
Oh, God. It's really no one I could do an impression of without A, it being horrifyingly unrecognizable, or B, getting us so sued.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to talk about the Big D. I probably should find a new name for that.
No. I think we roll with it. Let's just put it this way. He's pantomiming to me right now because he doesn't want to get us into trouble.
Right.
But if we were to say something particularly funny, he would go, ha ha.
Ah, yes.
So he says, hello, my name is
Redacted.
Yeah. I am king of this land.
Okay.
And I demand that you talk about video games. Okay.
Well, redacted.
We will talk
do
about
that right
games
now.
Redacted.
So I know we've talked about this in the past. For those of you who are
longtime listeners, you'll be semi-familiar
with what I'm talking about. And I did talk about it only like 20 minutes ago. This week, I'm going to talk about Kingdom Hearts and kind of go where I left off.
Okay.
I'm not going to do the whole story, guys, because it took me, I think, 2 episodes to get through Kingdom Hearts 1. And there are like 8 more games and like movies and like whole spreadsheets that I need to go over.
Wait. Can I interrupt for just a second? Did you see the very funny meme where it's like, will I understand Kingdom Hearts 3 if I haven't played the previous 12?
That's good. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, Cody was explaining to me like all the different like names and like sub games and like mobile games. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's a lot to this series. And I'm just going to briefly go. Basically, this is like a precursor, if you will, to me, just talking about how awesome Kingdom Hearts 3 is next week. But it's an RPG, so it fits.
Yes.
In this. So for starters, for those of you who are brand new, hi, welcome.
Hi, welcome.
What is Kingdom Hearts and why is everyone so jazzed about this third one?
I know, right?
Right.
What am a Kingdom Heart?
What am Kingdom Heart? So Kingdom Hearts is a RPG that started in 2002, so roughly 16 years ago now?
Yikes.
Yeah, we are coming to the climactic conclusion at about the age of an angsty teen. So, it is, to put it bluntly, a lighthearted RPG with an anime plot that is so bananas that there are literally hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos discussing this fucking game. You can look it up. You can literally type in explain Kingdom Hearts or Kingdom Hearts explanation and you will get a ton of videos, which is why I'm kind of not doing it because it's already been done and by people who actually who would do a very good job at it. It's a super weird story. It's lighthearted, but it gets deep. Talks about kind of existential, like what is a real person. But ultimately, it's this climactic battle of light and dark. There's Kingdom Hearts, which is supposedly this omnipresent source of magical energy we call light. It's
Okay.
in people's hearts, and through bizarre circumstances it's no longer here. It's swallowed up somewhere, and it's like, when I say it's got an anime story, it's like, I think every game they decided that, like, oh, the story's not good enough. Like, sure, the first game had Heartless, it's light versus dark. We had three main characters, we had a bad guy. They were like, no, 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 no. We can't do that again.
Okay.
We got to add 13 more bad guys and a new main bad guy and a whole new set of monsters, because no one wants Heartless anymore. Now we got to do nobodies. And nobodies are going to be totally different from Heartless.
That sounds pretty different.
And so on and so forth. It is fucking deep in goofy nuance. And it's also
like the series at all.
Right. But it's also, it's, when I say it's like goofy and lighthearted, you're exploring Disney worlds and helping the denizens of said Disney worlds with their usually movie-centric issues. So, like, you go to Alice in Wonderland, and Alice is lost, and you help her kind of get out of this court trial with the Queen of Hearts by helping find who the real culprit is. And you go to the Little Mermaid, and Ariel wants to go off and see the world, but her dad's like, hell no, and you get caught in the middle of that, and it's weird, but it's bananas. It also has fucking bizarre concepts, like the heart being this like crazy weapon that is susceptible to darkness. There's time travel. The main bad guy time travels in this game.
Sure,
and
that makes sense.
And takes a weird, like, kind of left turn. Like, we have time travel movies. We've done a whole episode on time travel. This one's a little wild. So the only way you can time travel is if you use your heart, which is this kind of embodiment of your soul, I guess. But you can only time travel to places that you've been. So, like,
okay,
if I were to time travel now, I could only go through my timeline to any given point.
Okay.
And you can't travel in a body. You have to, like, do it as, like, a heart. And so you're basically just kind of like a floaty soul thing. And then they also introduce the concept of splitting your essence or your soul into many fragments. Like, the main villain is trying to do that in some weird way. Like, when I say this game is strange, they just kept adding weird layers upon layers on this game. So, if you're looking for something that's a little more consistent and very straightforward, like, maybe a twist and turn here or there, but not the entire story, and you're looking for something that's not family friendly, like you're looking for something that has, mostly mature themes, as opposed to, like, there's mature themes mixed up in this kind of, Donald and Goofy, like, catching their butts on fire, like, you're probably not going to like the story. In fact, the story will probably honestly bore you to tears.
Oh.
Not a hot take. I love the story. I think it's fun. It's, it's silly and lighthearted, but it hits in weird places that, like, as a kid, I was like, yeah, this is cool. But on top of that, it's a fucking amazing RPG. It's one of the first, like, sort of evolving action RPGs where instead of taking turns or having initiative, you basically run around and you tap X, and when you tap X, you swing your sword. Or if you hold another button and tap X, you cast a spell, and it's all done in real time. So part of it is maintaining, active awareness of what's going on and using all the different commands, and it's super fun. Like, 1 is a little clunky, but I still think it's it's a fairly entertaining game. I think 2 took the RPG mechanic formula and brought it up to up to 11. I think that game still holds pretty well in terms of its combat.
Okay.
They made a bunch of other games, and what I actually really like about this series as a whole is they weren't afraid to try things with all these other like like quote unquote main story games.
Okay.
So in between 1 and 2 is a game called Chain of Memories, and that was a fucking card game. It's a card game within an action RPG where your attacks were decks, like were cards in a deck, and the higher your number was, like, determined your attack. And then they switched over to another concept where instead of just playing one character, instead of just playing Sora, you play through the same story 3 times as 3 different characters, like in Birth by Sleep, where you play as 3 main protagonists, kind of going through similar story bits. Like you all meet up in the middle to fight one boss together, and then the end.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, but all the way up until those points, you're all doing very different things. Like Taro, the first character, or like the quote-unquote easiest character to play, he's kind of like the really strong guy, but he's a little slower than the rest of them, like in terms of speed. He's getting the whole time tricked by the bad guy into basically doing dark deeds and like second-guessing himself and kind of slowly submitting to the darkness. And then Ventus, the second character, his whole thing is dealing with this mysterious person who's creating these monsters. And then Aqua, the third character, is trying to like find them and like bring them back home because things are getting real fucked up. Like, and then in Dream Drop Distance, they added these weird creatures that are like Pokemon, but they're not Pokemon, and they act as your party members instead of Donald and Goofy. And they added this thing that they do bring into Kingdom Hearts 3 called like flow maneuvers, where if you press square, you can dash. But if you dash into certain things, you'll get prompted to do a special attack. So you were kind of always looking for things in the environment that were a little shinier than the rest so that you could perform these maneuvers, because they typically did more damage, or they prevented you from getting hurt because they would like suck people up into the, or suck the enemies up into this kind of mess, and then you hurt them.
Interesting.
Yeah, and these were over the course of like, what, 8 games? If you're really interested in playing the whole series, they have 2 PS4 games that are basically collections of all of them. Some of the games don't really port well to playing on a PlayStation, so some of them are movies. And then Kingdom Hearts 3, the reason people are getting so crazy jazzed is like, this is a 16-year franchise, and supposedly this is like the end of, like, this is going to be the climactic battle between the forces that we've seen in these games, and, you know, it's going to... And the last main game, Kingdom Hearts 2, came out 12 years ago.
That's
so
crazy.
Like, it's been 12 years since we've played a mainstream Kingdom Hearts game, and this is supposed to be like kind of the finale of all of it. So it's gonna be super fun, and I've played a little bit of it, and I'm waiting. I'm gonna play a little more of it before I give my first impressions of it. But what is nice about Kingdom Hearts 3, if any of this sounds interesting, maybe you missed it, maybe you're always on the fence and you're like, but that's a lot to catch up on to play this game. This game, Kingdom Hearts 3, comes with a thing called Memory Archives, which is basically these nice little, like, I don't even think they're 10 minutes long. They're these movies of this, like, this cute little Moogle-like creature. If you're familiar with the Final Fantasy series, they're like these little kind of stuffed animals. And they basically tell you the story in the most basic way possible about what's going on. And sure, you miss a lot of like the nuance of the game, but you get the big story beats. You get that, you know, Sora, Kairi, and Riku went on an adventure. Riku and Sora fought each other, yada, yada, yada. And what's great is you can watch all those, and I feel like, sure, you might miss some of like the little nods that they have towards the other games, but I don't think you'll be so lost as to be like, this game's not fun because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
What's also nice and very unlike Kingdom Hearts is it has a fairly well-written / playable tutorial. So
cool.
if you haven't played the rest of the games, don't sweat it. They basically go through them slowly through the first like what they call the tutorial part of the game in easy strokes. So like you'll first just start off with attacking in a tutorial. They'll tell you how to use the camera and swing your sword. Cool. Then they introduce magic. Then they start to introduce the other concepts, and by the time you're done with the tutorial, you're basically ready to go into the world of Kingdom Hearts and utilize what you have in your arsenal, which is great.
Really nice.
Yeah, and that's all I'm going to say about Kingdom Hearts. I think for those of you who are willing to try a silly, goofy, lighthearted RPG with some of the best action RPG combat that I've seen anywhere, I think this Kingdom Hearts 3 is worth a shot. It's on PlayStation and Xbox. You don't have to worry about not being fully caught up if you don't want to play through all those games. I get it. That's a lot. I spent a lot of my free time at the end of last year just to get caught up with Kingdom Hearts. So I get it. But I think it's worth a shot if this sounded interesting to you. And I'll give my report on Kingdom Hearts 3 next week and talk about all the cool stuff in that game.
Now, Cody, I'm going to ask you a question that we might have asked on the podcast before.
Of course.
Now that Disney owns a lot of properties, what world would you love to see exist in a Kingdom Hearts game that will probably not exist?
Oh boy. Well, I think it just makes sense to do Star Wars.
Star Wars?
Yeah.
Like just like the Death Star, or like...
Yeah, no, I mean like... So one of the core concepts of Kingdom Hearts is that all these worlds are scattered in this kind of nebulous space, and to get through it, you need like basically special space vehicles. So like you have this like goofy, they call it a gummy ship, which is just like this orange, silly like building blocks ship. You know, like think of like a 4-year-old's like building blocks. And they built like a goofy, smooth ship. And like, that's what you fly around in. It just, to me, it doesn't like... Now, I'm not going to spoil it because I haven't gotten far enough to experience most of what's to come in this game. But if all of a sudden a Millennium Falcon like flew by, I would just be giddy.
That'd be pretty rad.
Yeah. What about you? What Disney
Muppets
prop?
World.
Huh?
Muppets World.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty
I don't know
cool.
if the Muppets necessarily have like a big villain that would be like the villain of like the whole world, but Muppets would be fun.
That's okay. Like, not everybody, like, in these games, the Disney villains or whatever are just, like, some of them are in league with each other, some of them are just, like, assholes to be assholes. You know,
Fair
just
enough.
like in the Disney movies. So, it doesn't necessarily need that. I'm really excited to see what they didn't show us, because there was after the first tutorial area, I had been to an area that they hadn't, like, I didn't look online and I didn't see it, but like, holy shit, it was fun to be in this place. I'm not going to spoil it for people who want to play. So, yeah, that's Kingdom Hearts, like the series in general. I think it's worth a look at if RPGs are exciting to you, and the idea of hanging out with anime boys and girls and Donald and Goofy sound intriguing.
Yeah, for sure. And on that note, I think it's time we move into the
Middle section.
All right, everyone, welcome to the middle section.
Yeah. I'm always excited. because we have a new middle section intro.
Exactly.
Anyways, guys, this is the middle section where we talk to you guys about our social medias and how you can contact us in hopes that you will like, share, subscribe, and do all the things to help us grow as content creators. So we are on Twitter at fandomr_podcast. That's our Twitter handle. And we'll post stuff, about, we have our questions of the week, just general updates on when the episodes come out, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
And then also, we have our email. If you want to send us a question to either help us or help guide us to what conversations you'd like to hear about, or fanfic about our garbage kids, or just about any conversation you want to have with us, you can email us at fanroulettepodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And Joe will read those dirty, dirty fanfics of our garbage kids verbatim. So hopefully that entices you for that.
Send them in.
Also, we have a website. If you go to www.fandomroulette.com, you can find our information. You can find our podcasts. You can find all of our social links. And
it's all there.
It's all there. And at the very bottom, at the very bottom, there's a little questionnaire, little thingy. And if you want to ask us a question, you can just go to the bottom there. Boom, boom, boom. You don't have to use your email or use like an email provider, whatever. It's all on the website.
We're on Facebook, Tumblr,
Instagram. Yeah, we're on all of those. Else? Yes. We are on SoundCloud. We are on iTunes. We're on Google Play. We are on your RSS feeds. And we're also on Spotify. So if you're...
all those things.
If you've got a buddy or a friend or a family member who's like, hey man, that sounds like really cool, but like I don't have a SoundCloud or an iTunes, we're uploading to newer things all the time. So
we're always finding new ways to get that content out there.
Yeah. And so that is the middle section.
Excellent. Man, that was a pretty nice middle section, Cody.
I know. I tend to go on like autopilot and just ramble and ramble and ramble. Right? So hopefully it wasn't.
Oh no. Oh, it smells so bad in here.
What is it? Oh, Joe, what does it smell like?
It smells like that smell when like you left some ground beef out too long.
Oh.
Yeah, it smells bad is the word that I was looking for.
Yeah, it smells like fungus in like a gross basement that's got water damage.
Ugh. That was ugh.
Yeah.
Garbage kid time.
Yeah, this is the Garbage Kid, where we make NPCs or player characters for you, the audience. If you're into playing tabletop role-playing games, we make these characters for you.
Yeah.
And we use it in our handy little guide called Xanathar's Guide to Everything. And I know what you're thinking, Joe.
Everything?
Everything.
Whoa, that seems like a lot of content.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's tomes and tomes. It's like, if I accidentally open it in the wrong room, I get stuck in the room for days.
Shit. I mean, it's like basically a player's handbook part 2. That's not nothing.
Basically, they used to do that. They used to have like multiple like player's handbooks.
We don't talk about 4E.
Yeah, and people were kind of skeptical on that process because it some people across
they were withholding like classes.
Yeah, like it didn't feel like everything was coming out and they were like waiting for certain book content. So anyways,
Barbarian wasn't in the original 4th edition player handbook. And that's like a core like class.
Jeez.
But anyways,
our Garbage Kid this week is Quake Royal Icon.
Yeah. I love it. Tell me about Quake.
Well, Quake is a half-orc paladin.
Nice. Good start.
Yeah, Quake knew who their parents were and
Nice.
was
Very
born in limbo, the outer
What?
plane of existence.
Jesus. How did he end up, how did they end up in limbo?
I don't want to talk about. I'll leave that up to the audience.
That's for the fanfics writers to decide.
Yeah, that's for the fanfic. Quake is the youngest of 5 and was raised by a single father because their mother was taken away.
All right.
Quake lived a comfortable lifestyle in a small house.
All right.
They had a few close friends and lived an ordinary childhood.
Very nice.
Quake became a paladin because a fantastical being appeared before them and called them to undertake a quest.
Ooh.
Their symbol is an unblinking eye, implying that Quake is ever alert to all threats to their cause.
Nice.
Quake's nemesis is a vampire who has sworn revenge against all paladins after being defeated by one.
That seems like a lofty goal there, vampire.
It is a lofty goal. Quake's temptation is despair. They consider the great strength of the enemies they must defeat and at times see no way to achieve a final victory.
Wow. Well, that's
Quake,
really cemented something.
right?
Yeah.
Quake is 35 years old
Cool.
and has had 5 life events leading up to this moment.
Very nice.
First, Quake was in a battle and ended up with a few minor wounds that healed up with no scars.
Okay. Cool.
Next, they would meet an adventurer.
Ooh. What
Third, Quake fell in love.
Yeah. Good job,
Next, Quake would spend a time working a job.
Very nice. Very nice.
And then finally, Quake would marry their lover.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. That's Quake Royal Icon, the half-orc
it.
paladin.
Very nice.
We have a patent-pending, proven system to find out the best of our garbage kids.
Yeah.
First, it's the smelliest.
Mm-hmm.
Second is whether or not they're edgy.
Yeah.
By the timely question, does Quake go into Hot Topic?
100% obviously. Like, I was sitting there, I was kind of like sitting on the edge, and then you did that whole thing about like grief and despair as their like power source or whatever. I was like, shit, yeah, go into Hot Topic, my friend.
Yeah, I think early on, Quake may have been like, Hot Topic, forget about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But then as soon as they considered the great strength of their enemies,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when we were getting some good Hawthorne Heights CDs. We were getting towels with Green Day on them.
Obviously. Like
getting,
a friend
of
burned him
course,
an MCR sound like
Yeah.
CD.
Of course, posters with their favorite Dragon Ball Z characters on it.
Sure. Well, because Dragon Ball Z was the first thing to suggest that perhaps there is an enemy, because if their power levels are ever growing, then like has power levels become like an arbitrary metric with which to judge another character by? Because if it's escalation and only escalation, then eventually you're going to get a character that's so powerful that it's going to be like 100 bazillion.
It's true.
Remember when 9,000 was a high number on that show?
Right, and once the Frieza saga ended, it was like 9,000. I do like 12,000 by sneezing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like most human beings can do 9,000 damage at this point, idiots.
That's very true.
Wait, what do you think? Yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
At first, when I was creating Quake, I was like, no way in hell. And then I got to the temptation, and I was like, yeah,
maybe a way in hell. And that way is through like the power of your enemies or whatever.
Yeah, power of the Keyblade.
Yeah, the power of the power of the power.
Power of the power. That.
Anyways,
let's just Kobe.
I don't know what's happening.
I picked up the garbage kid, put it in a ball, and then threw it in the dumpster like Kobe.
Okay, cool. You just isolated like half of our fans. No, I'm just kidding. Like, knowing who Kobe is like a fucking cultural. So, anyways, as I mentioned in the intro of this week's episode, we're talking about the apocalypse system.
Yes. So last week we talked about actually playing in it. You actually got to play it over the weekend.
Yeah.
And we decided that we would kind of come up with a core idea of our own, something that we would like pretending that and this is the I guess if this was like an essay for school.
Yeah.
In the hypothetical where there are no simple world creations, there's no apocalypse world, there's no
dungeon world,
there's no monster of the week, all these other ones, or even some of the more obscure ones, we are coming up with our own core idea. We're going to rename the stats.
Yep.
And then give a couple, or in Joe's case, 1 million of the different playbooks or character classes that you can play.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to go first?
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
So, this is going to come as a shock to everyone listening. But I've been thinking about this a lot. Mine is called The Away Team.
What? So, no.
The Away Team is a tabletop role-playing game set approximately 500 years in the future. You are the crew of the AOPS Zeal, a ship designed for interplanetary exploration and goodwill. While the universe is dangerous, you and your crewmates try to rely on your wits to defuse situations, but there's always a phaser or two ready. Don't sue us.
I like it.
Okay, so for those of you who haven't listened to in the past, they basically break down like 5 stats, and they kind of give a metric of like what those stats should measure. So, they are reflective and graceful, persuasive and asserting, aggressive and forceful, calculating and methodological, and inquisitive or exploratory. So, for my reflexive and graceful, I have composed. For persuasive and asserting, I have passion. For aggressive and forceful, I have honor. For calculating and methodological, I have logic. And inquisitive and exploratory, I have to boldly go. Does that sound okay?
I like that one, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I have 5 potential playbooks. And if I was reading this correctly, what they did was they suggested that what you do is you come up with a title and then like 3 things that they would in theory be good at, right?
Yeah.
So I have captain, support the crew, exceptional negotiator, and then planning expert, science officer, inform the crew, good at reading people / situations, and invent useful items, security officer, defend the crew, weapons expert, control security team. So that one was kind of felt like it was going to be the chopper. So, like, you had a couple of, like, guys that would come around with you that would be, like, your red shirts.
All right. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, right? Medical officer, which is heal the crew, survival specialist, and then knowledge of alien biology and culture. And then engineering officer, fix crew gear, machine specialist, and knowledge of alien tech.
Ooh, I like it.
And then I was thinking about playing with, like, maybe adding racial modifiers, but I don't know if there's ever actually been like a Monster of the Week game that has an aspect like that, so I was just going to step off of that one for the moment. So
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's still pretty cool. That's a good, a good
I figured I did want to
start.
create like a sci-fi or like a Star Trek-esque world with like forcing everyone to be humans.
Sure.
But yeah, what about your world?
So my core idea is similar in nature. In my game, this is a roguish Western sci-fi adventure in
cool.
lines of pop culture such as Firefly and Star Wars, in
Very
which
nice.
you play a rogue / outlaw that's usually kind of leaning on the wrong side of the law.
Nice, I love it.
Right, so I kept to the 5 stats.
Cool.
So my strength stat is guts.
Nice.
The dexterity was expertise.
Okay.
The kind of social one is allure.
Ooh.
My wisdom in this case was streetwise.
Okay.
And what you know on the streets. And
Yeah,
then
right.
the last one, which is your other like kind of intelligence role, is technology.
Oh, cool.
So in this, I have two just because I was starting to like try to come up with like cool names for the things, and I was trying to mix Western and sci-fi, and just got kind of like it took a lot more than I realized
I understand that.
to. So I have the class the face, or your Malcolm, like,
Sure.
or even
Your Han.
Yeah, or your Han. And the three abilities that they have is called a cunning ruse, alluring eye, and smooth talker. So like the idea of being able to deceive somebody with like an elaborate lie, being able to like, you know, hit on somebody, and then kind of talking your way out of a situation.
Okay.
And then I have the enforcer, and their three abilities is breaking stuff, under pressure, and terrorize.
Cool.
So they're good at, obviously the first one, breaking stuff.
Breaking stuff. That's always fun.
They do well under pressure, and because of their enforcer-like nature, they tend to intimidate people of a lesser physical stature.
Very nice.
And those were the two that I came up with.
Yeah. And then one other thing that they mentioned too, and I didn't do this for all 5 of mine, but it's try to think of like maybe like one special move for each of them. And I had thought of one for the captain, which I thought could potentially be fun, based on its like Trekkie vibe, which would be it would be called Consult the Crew.
Okay.
And basically, like in any classic like TOS Star Trek episode, he would talk to Spock and he would talk to McCoy, and Spock would give a very logical answer, and McCoy would give a very like passionate answer, and then Kirk would like usually choose one of the two. So on a 10 plus, you get to choose which of the plan you want, and then on a 7 to 9, the DM gets to choose for you.
Oh, interesting.
And then 6 and below, you come up with your own plan, but it's nowhere near as good as either of the ones that they gave to you. So.
Ooh, man, what a bummer. Oh, that's good.
I don't know. It was I like I said in the past, I really enjoyed like the weird little playbook things.
Right.
It was interesting because we had played Monster of the Week together. I found that the playbooks in Monster of the Week were much more elaborate. And as I was looking at other people's classes in Apocalypse World, they were a little bit more elaborate. Mine, sadly, like I only got 2 special moves, and they were both filled in, which is like basically like you control your mooks and tell them what to do, and like basically like anything that can fit inside a saddlebag you can take from your mooks to give to like another player, basically. So
okay
it's kind of
so
like
yeah, it's a
bag of
little
holding.
light, but the idea being that like you have like a crew with you,
which actually came in a lot of fun when we were doing actual combat, because my dude's got to like zip around like in Attack on Titan.
Oh yeah.
So like I had this whole thing where it was like people on the outer flanks like would periodically like rotate inward, so like no one was like vulnerable for too long.
Okay.
People were impressed, but so clearly, as you guys can see, you can really find any like, so we just happen to both go sci-fi western or sci-fi in this case, but if you want to do a gothic horror, for instance, your calculating and methodological could be something as simple as like mad science.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or that could also be your inquisitive exploratory, could be mad science. And another thing to point out as well is so the numbers in Apocalypse World are very, very small.
Yes, very small.
That doesn't necessarily matter, because some classes just aren't designed to do certain things. For instance, my class in Apocalypse World really wasn't designed to get weird, is the inquisitive exploratory role, but in theory, if I were to try to get weird, there's a good chance I could still roll a success. It's just that I don't have anything with my character aiding me on it. So you look at the numbers, they look kind of small, but don't worry. There's nothing too dangerous about having small numbers. So
Absolutely. And I just came up with a special ability for the face.
Oh, cool. Let's hear
it. On the dome. I figure a special ability is giving them a potential contact wherever you are. So like the face being kind of a well-rounded traveler. On a success, they have a contact to help them with what they're looking for. On a mixed success, they have a contact that could help them, but their relationship is complicated.
Yeah, like a Lando.
Yeah, and then a failure is you either don't have a contact or you have an enemy that is here instead.
Nice. I actually like that a lot. I feel like that would play really well into the Western sci-fi genre, especially if you're going like the more roguish side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's always one of the most fun things about roguish plots is like watching how like their like for sure contact isn't as reliable as they thought they were.
Right. And I started getting crazy ideas about this like be kind of falling in line with Firefly a little bit.
Sure.
Having like a ship and your ship has its own stats and you can upgrade like your ship like you would as like you level up.
Mm-hmm.
But it costs money, which is like a resource in the game.
Yeah.
And,
I was trying to figure out too, like if they were going to, so like I like initially I'm planning like were I to run this tomorrow, for instance, this would just be like an away team thing where like you're jumping from planet to planet, but I would eventually figure out ship mechanics as well. So
yeah, because ships are like the shaky seats where you're like, whoa.
Mm-hmm. Where have you ever heard how they would do that on like classic Star Trek and I guess other Star Trek as well, which is the cameraman. I heard,
like the cameraman would give them a cue and they would all like just kind of bounce up and down.
Yep, they would bounce up and down, they would shake the camera, and then someone off stage would like yell like left, right, and then they would all move to the left together, they would all move to the right together, then eventually they would all fall down on the ground.
That's fun.
It's so good. But anyways, shall we wrap her up?
Yeah.
Excellent. We want to like thank you guys so much for listening to yet another episode of Phantom Roulette. As always, this has been a genuine pleasure to record for you guys. So please go back and consult the mill section if you want to find out about our social media. It's a passion project, a side project, a labor of love that we're doing at the moment with our free time, such that it is. So we're doing this because we genuinely want to be here. We're not doing, so if you can let a friend know, if you can, tell a friend, hey, you might enjoy this, feel free to let them jump in at any point they want. If you think that season 2 is the best place for them to jump in, do that. If you if you think our world building stuff was solid, just jump in there. But I'll tell you, we're always thinking of ways to make it fresh and fun. Right, Cody?
Oh, of course. Yes.
So our questions for this week were, I guess if you were to plan a heist, like a heist for an object, what would you go for? Like, what's something you would really like? And then what Kingdom Hearts world would you like to see now that Disney basically owns the world? But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. And for Fan Roulette, this is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.